everybody, welcome back to another episode of A Gardener's Journey Homestead. I'm Barbara. I'm glad that you stopped by today. It is a beautiful day in terms of the sun. It's about 50 degrees today, so the wind is blowing. It's a little cool when the wind is blowing, but in the tunnel it is perfect. I came out here this morning, it was 115. I let one of the sides up a little bit and cracked the door some. I didn't want to get too cold, and when I came back it was 99. So a little bit better, but it's very nice to be in the tunnel. So in this video today, we're going to do a couple of things. So one, we're going to reset the tunnel and move some things around. So like some, greenhouse decorating, interior decorating, not decorating, but just moving some stuff around. And then also I'm excited because I am going to start my own potting soil mix to do my seeds in. I have been wanting to do this since last year. I did not get a chance to get it done. And this year, I'm biting the bullet and I am doing it. Now, you guys have seen me start seeds already, and I will continue to do that. But this is the time that I had today to get the mix done. So I want to show you how we're going to do this mix together in case you want to do this yourself. If you've been thinking about it, I want to, encourage you to try it. And then if not, just watch me. And then if it works for me, then you can try it. Because, hey, there's no shame in that either. But if you're brand new here, I'm so glad that you landed on my channel. I'm in Tennessee in Zone 7B. And we live on about 75 plus acres of land. And we have a tunnel, an in-ground garden. We have raised beds behind our house. We have a root cellar. We cook in the kitchen from scratch. We do all the things on this channel. But as we are gearing up for the next summer garden season, there's plenty of stuff to be done. And so every available moment where the sun is shining and the weather is nice, we're trying to do as much as we can to get ready and prepared. So the first thing we're going to start with is resetting the greenhouse and moving the seed starting table that I've been using as soon as you come into my greenhouse. It's been there for 2 years. It was not supposed to ever live there, but you know how things happen. It gets in one space and then it just stays. Well, today is a day it's actually going to get moved. So the first thing we have to do is clear off the table, and I'll walk you through how we're going to rearrange and what we're going to do. And then we're going to start our own potting soil mix for our seeds. I can't wait. Let's go. Okay, y'all can see in short fashion, we pretty much got the table clear, just some little knickknacks from here. So now to be moved. And then you guys know that my husband had kind of put this sawhorse on the side of that for my soil. So we'll have to see how that's going to go. But he's getting the last remainder of the stuff off of it. Let me show you where we think it's going to go. We came down here, I think last week, and did some measurements and talked through various scenarios of where it could go, either on the right side when you come in or on the left side. As you know, on the left side, I already have 2 shorter tables there that somebody else had made for me. But we settled on it going right over here. Let me show you. Right now, the table is basically here when you first walk in. We're going to move it to this area here to the right. To the left is where we have the other 2 tables. They're shorter. Right now they're covered from all the stuff that was on this table. There's one there and there's one there. Look at all these trays and pots. It's amazing how big this greenhouse is, and you can still feel like you need more space. But by us moving the table, when you first come into the tunnel, it will be more open, and then I'll be able to kind of like walk around. Right now, it's hard to get around to the other side of the table just because it's a little tight there. But we're going to attempt to move it back, and I think my husband said we're going to make an L shape with the soil is what we're thinking. And then we're going to get one of the shelving units, very similar to what I have my seeds on. They're like 4 feet by 6 feet, I think, if I'm not mistaken, those wire shelving units. We're going to put one of those in here, and then that's where we will store like all of the fertilizers and all the stuff, instead of it just being on the table. And that way, if I can, ideally, if I can keep this table mostly clean for just like plants and stuff, that would be ideal. I was telling my husband, I feel like we clean up once a year, but I guess, I mean, we use this space every day, all day. So I guess one major cleanup a year is not bad, because you know, when you're in the thick of the season, in the summer season, the last thing you got time for is to be cleaning up. You moving, and you're shaking. But this is a perfect time to get this situated now, and hopefully allow me some more space to start more seeds as well, by getting the table cleared off, kind of moving it back, and just kind of getting reset and resituated. So I think my son's going to come down here. He's going to help my husband. They're going to do the heavy lifting, literally. And I'm going to be the coach. Look, I got on my coach's hat. What y'all think? That's what we're going to do. So let's get prepared to do that, and I'll show you what's going to happen. Okay, so apparently it's not hard to move, because he didn't even wait on my son. He's just moving it himself side by side. So, okay, that was not as what we were thinking. So let's get in here and see what is the best possible. Yeah, move it back some. Okay, guys, so this is the table. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So you can see the tote that has soil in it. We had the sawhorse. What my husband wants to do is just to find something that's not a sawhorse, that's the same height as the table, that he can sit the soil on, is what he's thinking. If not, we'll have to put the sawhorse there. But basically, this is the table. This is where the first raised bed is. And then you can see just all of this open space now. Front door, all of this space. Let me show you from this view. Okay, yes, it looks trashy because we just moved the table, so that's what's up. But that's basically what it looks like when you come in. So all this space is open. I like the open space, but I feel like it's unusable space. So when the table was here, this is what I debated with my husband. When the table was here, in my mind, I thought I can put me one circular raised bed there and put me some herbs in there, like just like the beds that I have back here. Those I thought could go right in here. Well, that's probably not possible, because it would literally be behind me, and I would have to make sure I wasn't stepping on it and all of that. So that's the only thing. So when it was right here, it was crowding the entryway, but I had gotten used to it, and I could have put more plants right there, because of me as a gardener, you always want more plants. But with the table here, it's way more space. It's open, but I can't do anything with that space. And of course, you can't really do anything in the entryway. So what do you guys think? Tell me your thoughts. I think we're going to keep it this way, because I do like the openness of it and the space. And I'll just have to not have the new raised bed. I mean, the new little circular bed. So over here, honey, tell them what we're doing over here on this side.
So we're taking this table and we're going to move it further down. Now the thought is to put a shelf here, and this table is on the end, and that will just form an L. This table and that table right there on the end.
And there's going to be enough space?
Yeah, there'll be enough space.
Okay, so this is what it'll allow. We'll have space when coming in. There's a ton of space right here, which is good. That will give us that space there. And then the shelving is really going to be key, because we'll have at least 4, shelves to put stuff on, because right now it's a lot. Trays, fertilizers, and all that. So we just need to be a little bit more, tidy. So that's it. That's what we're doing. Okay, guys, so that did not take long. Sometimes there are things that are looming over our head and it seems really big. And when you get into it, it's not that big at all. That, like, my son ain't even came down here yet. We done. We'll use him for the next project. But literally, that probably took 15 minutes. 15 minutes, and it's done. So they're getting the tables all rearranged, making space for the shelving. It feels good to get some stuff done. It feels good to have the sun beaming down. So now we're going to make our potting soil mix. So the reason why I've been wanting to do this is, one, because I'm adventurous. But more than that is economical. It's going to be, if I can master and get this, it's going to be way more economical for me to make my own mix, because of the large volume of plants that I'm doing, than me to keep buying bags at the store over and over and over. So like the average size, I usually use Happy Frog or Bacto to start my seeds in. The cheapest place I can get the Bacto at one of my nurseries that I go to is about $14 a bag. That's like 2 cubic feet. One of those bags fills up that little tote that you see me dipping soil out of. And that may cover, I don't know, maybe three or four trays. And again, depends on if I'm doing soil blocks versus 2.5-inch cups, right? I go through a lot of those bags each summer. If I had to guess, man, I can only imagine, because I usually buy them like 4 to 6 bags at a time, because I never want to be in my tunnel and not have a bag of potting soil. So I'm always using it, so to speak. So let's just say and that's the cheapest. And a lot of times that nursery, I can't get there because it's like 45 minutes from my house and I buy it somewhere else. The average is like $20 a bag, but let's just go with $14, right? So if I buy 10 bags, that's $140 already in just one. And I know I buy way more than 10 bags a year. I know I do, right? Because I'm doing a lot, especially when it's seed starting time, right? So from an economical perspective, it's going to be much cheaper for me to make my own mix. So I was at the nursery. I did not go to the nursery to find out how to make my own mix, but let me tell you this little tip. In the last couple of weeks, I went to 2 nurseries, and I'm trying to remember what I was even looking for. Oh, I went to go buy a bag of potting soil mix at the first nursery. The other nursery, I just went, it was the first time I had been there. So I'm like, oh, let me just go see what they got, because that's what you do, right? And this was at the beginning of the month. Both visits, 2 separate nurseries. There was nobody in the store, because I guess in early February, nobody's buying plants. There's no plants out. There's nothing. But here was the thing that happened. God is a good God. In both of those visits, it turned into a training session with me and the owners. They walked me around, was giving me tips, giving me suggestions about various different things. I don't know if they just wanted to talk. I don't know if it's because they had the time. I have no idea. But it's almost like they just said, like literally the first nursery, I went to go buy a bag of soil. And we got to talking, and I was like, yeah, I thought about making my own mix. I said, but I just don't know. He was like, it's not hard. And I'm like, yeah. And so he just started talking and telling me what they use. He took me to the back. He gave me a whole tour of the entire nursery, like past the counter, like the part that nobody else sees. He took me throughout the whole nursery. I was there for an hour. It was just me, and I was the only customer in the store. Long story short, he talked to me about what they use for their growing mix. So and this is where I buy, a lot of my plants that I don't do myself, I buy from this particular nursery, right? So I'm like, if they using it, then I can use it. He let me look at the label. Here's the point that I made a mental note. I'm like, visit nurseries in January, February, because these people got time to talk. Right. And he was the owner's son. And he said, man, I don't get a chance to do this during the summertime. He said, I'm so glad you came by. You're a regular customer, blah, 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 blah. He spent an hour with me, sold me all the things I needed, gave me some stuff from free. So this tub that we're about to use for the soil starting mix, he gave me the tub, he sold me the stuff, and then he gave me some extra stuff. I just remembered that. He gave me some extra stuff as well. So anyway, I could go on and on and on and on. Let's get to the seed starting mix. Okay, guys, so for the seed starting mix, we are starting with peat moss, and this is going to be 60% of the mix. Now, I am semi-making this up, as well as I've researched, looked at a lot of recipes, and kind of got the gist, and then we're just going to do our own thing. So my son is trying to open. You need some scissors? So the majority is going to be peat moss. This is the Sunshine Mix number 4 professional growing mix. It is, I think it's a 3.3 cubic feet bag that is compressed. It is extremely heavy. And it also has perlite in it, if I'm not mistaken. I'll zoom in because I bought this probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm going from memory. But basically, he's going to open that, and we're going to pour this into this tub. I don't remember how many gallons this tub is. it looked bigger in the store than it does right here. It may be the same size as that tub over here. I don't think so. I think it's a little bit bigger. We'll see. But let's see what it looks like. Okay, y'all, because it's compressed, it doesn't just pour out. So we're having, it's like one big hard block, which of course we'll have to hydrate it. But we're just taking the trowel and helping it to get out. But we're gonna fill the tub up about 60%. And that's gonna be the main component, and then we'll add other stuff into it. So next we're gonna add compost. And I did verify this peat moss has perlite in it. So I told him to start with half a bag of compost. So I can get the trowel and kind of mix that in together. That's half the bag. I'm trying to think, should I do another bag? No, I think we're going to stay with that. Okay, so they're mixing it all up together. Then we're going to add in some of our amendments. Okay, so then next we're going to add in some worm castings as well. Y'all, these plants are going to be like, yes! They're going to be jumping and doing jumping jacks and what you call them things? Side splits. They're going to be doing all of that. Look at that. Yeah, let's start with half a bag. Okay, and then, do y'all see that? That half, a little bit more. I feel like I'm in the kitchen cooking. Okay, that's good, that's good, that's good. Okay, then let's take that kelp meal, that green and blue bag. We're gonna add in some kelp meal, and let's just sprinkle, equivalent to, yeah, that's good. And then next, that rock phosphate. And I'm gonna tell y'all while I'm adding these things. I'm gonna add in rock phosphate, I'm gonna add in cottonseed meal. So this is gonna be our fertilizer and our nutrients. So basically we're making our own potting mix, but it's gonna be used for seed starting that mix. So that's good, that's good, that's good. And then a similar amount of the cottonseed meal. Maybe half that amount. That's good. Okay, now let's just mix it all up together. Okay, so let's talk about what I just concocted. So if you go out to the internet, look videos, you will see many different recipes for soil starting mix. So let me back up. I'm using this to start my seeds. Now, I'm not crazy, but I am adventurous. What we're going to do is I'm going to start seeds to try it out. I'm going to do the same exact seeds in my regular potting soil mix, and then I'm going to do the same exact seeds in this mix. I want to see if the seeds are going to germinate and if I'm going to have any issues, because I got too much at stake for me to just switch over to this completely and just start using this with me not knowing. Now, with that being said, how can it not work? So I'm talking out both sides of my mouth because I want to get you to think. And again, when it's your garden, you can do however you want to do. But for me and my personality, let me just test one tray and see how things work, and that it germinates and that it's all good, don't have any issues. And then when I feel comfortable, then we can kind of go forth and conquer. But basically the mix is a potting soil mix because I added in the nutrients and the fertilizer. And again, I use potting mix for my seed starts instead of me using a traditional seed starting mix. A traditional seed starting mix does not have nutrients in it. It's light, fluffy, all that. But if you start your seeds in that and you keep them in the pots for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks before you plant them out, they're going to need nutrients because it does not have any. So when you use a potting mix, it has the nutrients in there. So what we did is we used peat moss, and I got this bag. It's 3 by 3.3 cubic feet. How much you think that bag weighs? Probably 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And we probably used 20% of it.
Maybe.
My husband said maybe we used 20% of it. That is 60% of the mix. Guess how much I paid for that bag? $40. $40 for that bag. For these bags of soil that I buy that are 2 cubic feet, the cheapest place I have found them is like $14, right? And so already, this is going to be a much cheaper way for me to start my seeds than doing the traditional, the traditional way of just buying bags of mix. You got it all mixed in good, son? Okay, let's wet it. It should be all. Because you want to get it moist. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what I put in the soil mix. And the only thing that I didn't show you guys that I forgot was I'm going to add a little bit of soil conditioner, right? So let me back up. So at the nursery, all they use is that peat moss and the soil conditioner. That's it to start their seeds that they sell to the public, right? So with just those two things, you are good. So you don't have to have some fancy recipe. That's straight from the nursery guy himself. If you look it up, it'll say the same thing. Usually it's peat moss, perlite or vermiculite, peat moss or cocoa core. Those are interchangeable to a degree. I know there's a lot of controversy on peat. I don't keep up with all the controversy. I've read opposing articles, so I'm not going to get into all that. If you want to use peat, use it. If you don't. Yeah. You know, on this channel, don't come for me about any of that, because what? It's my garden. You do what you want to do in your garden, okay? But soil recipe is either peat moss or cocoa core, vermiculite or perlite, and then that usually, and maybe some compost. That is a very basic. Now, what I added in was some nutrients, because again, y'all know me. I can be fancy, extra, and I just be trying to get all the stuff, right? And I had it. So I added in kelp meal, cottonseed meal, and rock phosphate. So that's giving me my 3 nutrients, the NPK, right? So cottonseed is a good source of nitrogen. Rock phosphate is a good source of phosphorus. And then kelp meal is a good source of potassium. And then, of course, the worm castings and the compost. How can those seeds not grow? So logically and literally, I know the seeds have got to grow, but I just want to do a little test and a little trial first, and then we can move on. But if this goes well, that is a game changer in my pocket, okay? And then just the ease of use in it. The soil feels so good, and there's something about just, you know, having your own stuff, okay? Okay, so he moistened it some, but see if you can come a little closer, babe, so they can see the texture. Or if you can see on the camera, they can see the texture of the mix. I want you to see how light and fluffy that is. Again, we're going to moisten it some more so that it sticks, because the peat moss, again, was compressed. But all mixed up. Look at that. How good that looks. Now, son, get me a handful of that soil that's in that tub by the table. The other one. So this is the potting mix I've been using. This is what we just made. This is darker by a little bit. But essentially, and I'm going to let my son, you be honest, does it feel about the same? Yeah. So now they are on this side. My husband decided to go ahead and move these tables. And so the goal, they've already moved that one that you see the purple trays on. It was up against in the corner. They moved it down to the right. And so I think next they're going to take this table, push it back, and then where that table is where the shelving is going to go. Is that right, honey?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that's it. That is it. On the next video or a subsequent video, we're going to start seeds for this week, and we will do a trial of that mix versus the traditional mix and go from there and see what happens. But I feel like we have gotten so much accomplished today. We're about to go to Home Depot now and go get some more supplies. But basically, I'll take you around, let you see how the table situation is looking on the next video, and our organization. I'll give you a part 2 as well. But we got to go to the store, get the shelving, get some other stuff. But the boys, and I accomplished a lot. We got the the greenhouse reset. And here's another thing. For those of you that are married, right? You have to know what your strengths are. You have to know what your spouse's strengths are. My husband's been telling me he wants to move the table. It just took a while. And I was just like, I don't know. But he is usually 99% right about this kind of stuff. Like, this is not my strong suit. Like, how things space together. It's hard for me to visualize it until it's there, until I see it. Y'all, I got space. I feel like I got me a new tunnel. I love it. Thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
But I just trust him. Like, okay, I didn't really want it done because I'm like, I've gotten used to it being here. But I'm like, you're usually right about this kind of thing. So let's just see it. Let's just do it. He's like, no. I'm like, no. You know how you go back and forth. He was right, because he usually is about this kind of stuff. And that's, again, after 25 years of marriage. You just know. You just know. And so let me just give you a word of encouragement. If your husband is better at something than you or your wife, just let him do it. You don't have to try to compete one up and, have pride and all. Just let it go. Just let him be better at you than that. It's okay. Okay, y'all. That's it. I've given you some life lessons, some marriage lessons, some garden lessons. Time for me to go to the store. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope this video was fun, helpful, and gave you some ideas on maybe how to reset your tunnel, your garden, your patio, whatever you're growing in. And maybe it gave you some encouragement if you've been wanting to start your own mix. Again, you ain't got to do all the stuff I did. And you can watch along and see how mine goes. But if you want to do it, then it's pretty simple and easy to do. And I imagine if I total up the cost, like the biggest cost was that peat moss. It was $40 for that bag. We use maybe 20% of that bag. And I think 20% is pushing it. So if the bag is $40 and we use 20% of it, that's like $8 worth. I'm already below what I paid for one bag of soil. And you saw the other stuff that we put in there. It was minuscule. Like, I could still do a whole nother mix several times over. So already, from a cost perspective, I'm to the good. Remember, y'all, gardening is a journey. This is my 4th year gardening. I am just now making soil mix. So if this is your first year, do not feel overwhelmed. Do not feel like, oh, I shouldn't be buying my mix from the store. Girl, buy your mix from the store. Buy your transplants if you want to. If you're not starting seeds, no judgment. It is a journey. Let's grow together. I'll see you next time, friend.